Can we survive a Resident Evil world if something breaks out? What's our best hope, Lance? What do we do?
Get a job at Umbrella Corporation, because those cats are hooked up. Everybody else, good luck.
Welcome to Watch Mojo's Pop in the Culture, your weekly entertainment check-in. And me, I am your host with the most, Mojo, of course. That's right, it's me, Mr. Hollywood himself, Matt Demers. We got such a great show coming your way. I'm going to be speaking with the showrunner and the cast of Netflix's new series, Resident Evil. You do not want to miss this. But first, let's jump into it. Here's your Hollywood headlines. All right, and here to help me break it all down is my man, Ricky Tucci. Hey, Ricky, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic. Listen, we're going to start with something I think is a little near and dear to both of us. We're both big fans of Marvel, the MCU. Well, good news for Captain America fans. We got a director for Captain America 4, not the official title, but things are moving along. Julius Ona is going to be taking on the directing duties. He's most known for a 2018 film called The Cloverfield Paradox. You might remember that landed over there on Netflix. Not much else. I don't know too much about this director. The other thing that people are chatting about is, well, who's going to be Captain America? Because we know, Chris Evans. He starred in all the ones, but Evans is saying, no, guys, Captain America is Sam Wilson. So and this makes sense that he will be the feature here because it's from the writers, actually, of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Ricky, your take on Captain America 4, and are you cool with Sam Wilson being the main guy?
Yeah, of course. I think Chris Evans did an amazing job, but, everything comes to an end, and it's time to pass on the torch the way other heroes have passed on the torch. And I think Sam Wilson is probably, one of the best people to take up the mantle. For one, he's not super powered. He's not a super soldier. And so it kind of gives a different dimension to this version of Captain America that Steve had before he had the serum. And then only when he got the serum and was able to do it, we're like, okay, well, he always had that valiant heart. But Sam Wilson's never really had that opportunity. So now he's kind of taken the mantle from Steve. We'll see a more, I guess, human Captain America, someone who's and obviously, the racial undertones that we saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier are definitely going to play up in this, I assume, in this one as well, given that he's the first African American to play Captain America. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for really great storytelling, really great dynamics. And I'm super excited. I think Chris Evans is right. We just need to say Sam Wilson is Captain America. And he did a great job in the little bit we saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm sure he's going to do a great job in 4. And same with the director. Look, Cloverfield Paradox was a miss, but he had a couple. I think he had an indie film that did really well. And this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You have a good script, you have good actors. He will blossom and make a great film. And that's what I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they're not just going to pick any old director to do Captain America. There's obviously a reason why they want to go with him. He might have something to say with the script and the way it's going to look. But I really enjoyed the Captain America films. Those are probably some of my favorite of the MCU films that we got. I think Winter Soldier is still kind of my favorite of all the Marvel movies ever.
It's amazing. It was such, back in 2014. Yeah, man, that initial fight scene between him and the Winter Soldier was incredible. Yeah.
But we are rocking on with Marvel's. What are we in, phase 4? We're still in phase 4?
Phase 4.
I think we're phase 4. Did you see Thor: Love and Thunder, by the way?
I did see Thor. I saw it. I saw it this past Thursday when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I went into it thinking it was going to be kind of like Ragnarok, and it was kind of like Ragnarok.
It was.
And they repeated the formula, and it worked out well. I'm not going there to see, Spider-Man: No Way Home. I'm not expecting something on that scale, but it was good. It was good fun. Christian Bale was great, of course, as Gore the God Butcher. Zeus, played by Russell Crowe, was absolutely hilarious. Love that. So they did some good stuff, and I really enjoyed it. Good family film too.
Absolutely, yeah. No, if you did dig Thor Ragnarok, they've doubled down on all the goofy hijinks comedy. It's and then you get some nice action too, and like you said, performances were great. Speaking of performances and great things that are out there, well, the Emmy nominations are out, and that is recognizing the best in television on the small screen. So at the time of this recording, Ricky, that's hot off the press. It literally just came out. I was taking a look at some of the nominees. I'll get you to chime in on maybe who you think stands out here in some of the main categories. We'll start with the Outstanding Drama Series. Some heavy hitters here. You got Better Call Saul. You got Euphoria. You got Ozark, Severance, Squid Game. You got Stranger Things, Succession, and Yellow Jackets. Do you think something like Stranger Things or Squid Game could actually win?
You know, we're seeing the South Korean stuff win the Oscars. I mean, Parasite won, so it's definitely not beyond the scope of receiving a prestigious award. It's possible for sure. That being said, there is so much competition in that category, so many exceptional shows that I just don't know, because Squid Game is kind of the first season, and you know, these other ones have Ozark, Stranger Things. A lot of them have a long legacy of excellence. So maybe they'll go with that and see the consistency and how well it's done over the years versus kind of this one hit. I want to say one hit wonder, because there's a second season in the works, but yeah. It would feel personally to me a little unfair, given that these other seasons, especially Better Call Saul as well. I mean, it's just a proven track record of excellence. So we'll see.
We shall see, but that's a stacked list right there.
Yeah.
I'll just move on quickly to comedy series, because people like their comedies. I know I do. You got Abbott Elementary, Barry, which I don't know if you've seen, but it's pretty darn great.
Yes. Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is a favorite of mine. I love me some Larry David. Still getting some nominations here. Hacks, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Only Murders in the Building. Like, this show has taken off.
Yeah.
Do you know what this is?
So I haven't watched the second season. I watched the first season.
Yeah.
It's like a true crime podcast. It's really like comedy trio. It's pretty great. It's good for them.
They actually, I could totally see them winning, but their biggest competition, of course, is Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is still racking up the nominations, the big winner last year. And then the last one, What We Do in the Shadows.
That's another really popular one. It's one that I haven't watched, but I've heard incredible things about. Ted Lasso, though, I think Ted Lasso really is probably one of the biggest comedies ever at this point. So my bet is on Ted Lasso to win. Barry as well is fantastic. I don't know. It's so hard. It's so crowded. It's writing so good these days.
So much great TV. But yeah, no, the ones I think to look out for, because you also have lots of the actors in Squid Game racking up nominations, which is fantastic. But yeah, so the Emmy Awards, we're still a few months away, but those are some of the shows to put on your radar. And I'm going to stick with TV for just a little bit longer, because Stranger Things, well, it's coming to an end next season in season 5, but the Duffer brothers have inked this new deal with Netflix. They've come up with this Upside Down Pictures, which is kind of their production company. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to do a Stranger Things spinoff. It was rumored, but now it's official. Right. We don't know. I wish I could tell people a lot more about it. I don't think, from what I'm reading and from what I'm seeing, I don't think it's going to spin off some of the existing characters. I think it's going to be its whole new thing, but really just kind of probably in the world of Stranger Things with new. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I mean, would you rather see a show spin off about, like, say, Steve or, Dustin?
So from what I read, I don't think they're going to go the direction of the characters we have now, because we've seen them grow up over these past years. So I think they're either going to do a prequel series that explores the origins. I know they're going to explore the origins of the Upside Down in season 5, but maybe they'll look at Hopper. Maybe they'll look at some of the things that led the research to even happen in Hawkins. Or, like I said, I don't know what they're going to reveal in season 5. Maybe a bit more about Vecna or the nature of that. I think it might be a prequel. I think might be Hopper. I don't know, but I'll watch anything. I'll watch anything that they put out. So I don't really care what it is.
Long as I think you're right. As long as they recapture that kind of magic that they had with Stranger Things, and I think a prequel kind of makes sense, because then they can play with another era. Maybe they can go to the 60s or the 70s, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because they've had so much fun right now in the 80s. So that could be fun. So I don't know. I'm excited to see it. And as we get more details, we'll obviously share. And last for us, speaking of strange, have you been following the strange circumstances around Armie Hammer?
Oh man, he's like, what happened to that guy? I mean, I know what happened, but like, yeah, he's selling timeshares.
This
What?
is what they're saying. Okay, so for those that haven't been following, Armie Hammer, the the very lauded actor who was in, I think his biggest movie is what, Call Me by Your Name,
Call Me by
Oscar
Your Name
nominated
is probably the biggest. Yeah, the biggest one.
for his role. I mean, he was in The Social Network. He was in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
He was a big name, but then he was shrouded in controversy. There was all kinds of allegations about abuse and things that he was saying and doing. None
yeah,
of it's been proven just yet, but they're pretty disturbing stuff, including threats of cannibalism.
cannibalism. Yeah, and
Hmm.
he had a warrant out for him in L.A. too, which doesn't bode well. I mean, that kind of for me is the nail in the coffin. The police are after him, but he's obviously he's in the Cayman Islands now.
Yeah, that's
Escaping persecution, I guess, or whatever it is, avoiding what he can and selling timeshares. He did it to himself. I mean, I don't feel bad for him. First off, he comes from a rich family, right? Like Armie Hammer, which is another thing I find weird. Why is he
so.
selling timeshares? The guy's a million billionaire.
So yeah, you're right about that. His family is so rich. He's out there in the Cayman Islands. They were saying that he was working at a hotel, and then his
Yeah.
publicist was like, no, he's got friends. He's not working at a hotel. But now there's actual videos of him putting on this sales pitch to sell like this middle-aged couple timeshares in the Cayman Islands. Very strange. Do you think he has a road back to the big screen? I mean, as an actor, I can't see people.
I can't see it. I can't see it. Look, then again, Mel Gibson came back after all of his controversy. But his allegations are really bad. I mean, the cannibalism. How do you come back from? He's kind of like everything that Squid Games is talking about. These rich elites kind of just seizing power behind the closed doors. He comes from a family with a history of that as well. There's a well-documented history about the Armie Hammers and what they've done and the people that they've associated with. So doesn't actually seem far-fetched to me. It kind of seems par for the course, and it's just ironic that like after all of this hard work he's put in, over the years, like he's taken down by his own hubris. Yeah, hard to feel bad for him. I don't think he's ever coming back, personally.
Netflix, we need the Armie Hammer
Yeah,
true life documentary. I want
yeah.
the Hammer family. I want to know. That
I think
seems right.
HBO did something on them though. I think
Did they?
HBO yeah, I think they did a documentary on the Armie Hammers recently. I haven't watched it, but
Oh,
yeah,
I
it's a story.
I would watch that. I'm so fascinated by all this stuff. But yeah, Armie
Yeah,
Hammer, we'll keep our tabs on him. Hey, Ricky, thank you so much for breaking all this down with me today.
no problem.
But you know what? Me and you, we're not done because you got to take that trip with me, and that trip is beyond
Beyond
the
the
list. Beyond the list. All right, Ricky, you know what we do. We go in the vast archives of Watch Mojo. We pluck out a top 10 list. We go beyond that list. What does that mean? We just get to riff a little bit more. Not going too far in our archives because recently we talked about the best movies of 2022. It's only fair that we talk about the worst movies of 2022 so far. Listen, I watch a lot of movies. I know you're a movie guy. I'm curious if you've seen some of these, if you've heard of these, if you've avoided them. Hey, maybe you even like them. You tell me as we go through the list. What's your
Sure.
movie viewing been like so far? Have you been back to the theaters, by the way? I know some people are starting to get
Yep,
more frequent.
Yeah, Thor was I had seen. Yeah, Thor was the most recent one. I'll go see all the Marvel movies when they come out. Mostly. Before that, what did I go watch? James Bond. Yeah. I've been to the theaters. I've been to theaters. I love. Oh no, Top Gun.
Oh,
Fantastic. So good in IMAX.
and by the way,
Like
that's like one of my that may be my favorite movie of the year so far.
it's incredible. It's
Blew me away.
absolutely insane. Insane.
Blew me away. So I better not see Top Gun Maverick on this list. I don't
No,
think so.
no.
Number 10, though, these are the worst. This is your do not watch list. Get your pen and paper, put it in your phone, make some notes. Don't watch Choose or Die on Netflix. I've seen it, and I can attest that, yeah, this is not so great. It's a horror movie. What kind of hooked me on it was the concept, and that was like this kind of retro video game, and it makes you choose. It's kind of like Truth or Dare, but if you don't do it,
Yeah.
you die. They also had me with Robert Englund. He's the voice. We know him as Freddy Krueger. So I was like, this has potential to be kind of a cheesy horror guilty No, it's not good.
No.
It's so shoddy. The script is, who wrote this?
I have no
And how long did it take them?
Probably not very long. Like Netflix has a lot of hit or miss horrors. They had the trilogy, the 1980s or whatever, that whole trilogy, which was pretty good.
That was great. Fear Street.
Yeah,
The Fear Street
Fear
stuff.
Street.
That was
Yes.
so great.
That was so great, and that was like a big surprise. But usually their horror falls pretty flat when it comes to films. So no surprise there. And Robert Englund also making appearance in Stranger Things as Vecna's father. So he's been doing the rounds too.
He's been doing the rounds. And when are we getting a new Freddy Krueger movie? Like, come on.
It's kind of like at this point, after all the Halloweens they've done, it's like, why haven't you done?
Why haven't you? They tried to do it, I think, in 2010. It's been long enough. Give it another go. Give it another go. All right, number 9 is another movie that I saw that I was disappointed in. Something called Moonfall. Moonfall. This is a Roland Emmerich film, and I thought it would be like Emmerich does these big kind of disaster films, and I thought this would be along those lines, and it just wasn't. It was lackluster. At best.
I would have watched this. I like Patrick Wilson. I saw the reviews and I just decided not to watch it. And maybe it's better that I didn't. But I would think a movie like this would be really interesting because I really enjoyed Don't Look Up like a lot. I thought it was really funny.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. The critics didn't like it as much. I thought it was great. So if put something more like that, maybe. But I feel like with Patrick Wilson, you're not getting that kind of funny comedy either.
No.
It's like maybe too serious for its own good, and it's like. This isn't what's it called? What's that other series that he does? The Conjuring, right?
The Conjuring stuff. Yeah, no, it's and in case you didn't get it from the title, the moon is falling to Earth. Yeah. If it sounds nonsensical, it pretty much is. But the movie as a whole was actually surprisingly boring.
Wow.
If you have a movie called Moonfall,
it
can't be boring. Come on. You got to go for it. Number 8 on this list is Blacklight. This is Liam Neeson. If you don't remember what this is, I don't blame you because all of Liam Neeson's recent movies, they kind of feel like one movie. They're all the same.
It's the Neeson verse. He just does the same thing over and over.
Every movie. And listen, he's good. I like Liam Neeson in this role. It's just the movies are just not good. The movie's not good.
If you've seen Taken, you don't need to watch anything else he's done at this point.
You've seen them all. You've seen them all.
He's too typecast that, let's just get him out of there. Give him something. Win him an Oscar or something. What are you doing?
Because he is a great actor.
He's a great actor. His best role was as Qui-Gon Jinn at this point in that appearance in Obi-Wan, right?
Pretty good. No, listen, and I think the problem is that people's go watch these movies. So studios are like, we need to make another one. We can make money. It's
like
with
the Fast and the Furious. It's the same thing.
So guys, please, I'm telling you, 'cause as a guy that has to watch all the movies, stop going. 'Cause every time I see a Liam Neeson action movie, I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yep.
Same one. All right. Speaking of action, this one was the 355. This was kind of a spy thriller. It had potential. I think the cast was pretty cool. You had Jessica Chastain. Who else was in there? Penelope Cruz, Lupita Nyong'o. I think Diane Kruger might have been in there. But it just needed to be better. There was nothing special about it, and I feel like just unimaginative. You know what I mean? Like you just
what is it? It's like what Charlie's Angels meets Ocean's 11. Like I have no idea. I didn't watch it.
Hey, no, that's not a bad analogy. But you know what? Those movies, compared to this one, those movies are like Citizen Kane compared to compared to this. You know what I mean?
That's bad. Yeah.
That's why it definitely had potential, especially with that cast. Such a waste when you get really great actors.
Terrible.
And then you just waste them in a bad movie. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Okay, well, number 6. I can't say I was too surprised to see that Firestarters reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, failed. Yeah. It's Zac Efron playing a dad. Number 1, that's just kind of weird.
That's weird.
Did you ever see that one from the 80s?
I have not seen the original, but I heard it wasn't amazing either. So
no. Drew Barrymore was the kid, and I mean I've seen it because I have a slight crush on Heather Locklear, who played her mom. But It's based on Stephen King, right? Stephen King properties in movies sometimes could be hit or miss. I mean, just look at it. But this one was a huge miss and cheap. I feel like if you're gonna do a movie where there's like lots of fire, like that's her power, right?
Right.
Make it look good. It looked like, you remember like in the early 2000s on, you can go on like After Effects and make like those fake explosions. That's what it looked like. Who made this movie?
Budget. Was it all shot in like the same house or something? Like I hadn't watched it, but like it just, it looks very like, okay, we got like this old movie that we want to just remake. Maybe the Stephen King hype will drive it, and let's get Zac Efron because he's good looking. And it's like, okay.
No, didn't work.
Non-starter.
Yeah. I mean, Efron's fine. He could play the dad, no problem. I bought that, but it's just those avoid it. Number 5, we're going back to Netflix. Poor Netflix has got a lot on this list. This one's called The Bubble. This is a comedy from Judd Apatow, and I usually like me some Judd Apatow films, right? This one, no, it was about, and it was, you know what? It felt kind of timely. Obviously, they're during the pandemic. They have to make this movie. Big budget movie, and the actors are stuck in the bubble in this hotel, and they all kind of go crazy, and didn't work.
It's had Pedro Pascal too, and Keegan Michael Key. So they tried to get a little bit some of the good actors, but I don't know.
David Duchovny was in here.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It was a great cast. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like,
there's nothing memorable. There's just nothing like these movies. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what you mean. Like. It's not that they're just, they're horrible. It's just that there's nothing to keep you going. And it's like, what am I watching for? Where's the payoff?
And it was so long, by the way, this movie. I was like, is it ever going to end? Like, oh my God.
Like the pandemic, just draw.
That's right. It felt like, oh my God, can we end this already? Number 4 is Redeeming Love. Ricky, I talk about how I watch all the movies. I never saw this one. I don't even know what Redeeming Love is.
Never heard of it.
Watch Mojo's calling it a romantic drama. And I'm trying to see if I see anybody that I know in there. The actors. Abigail Cohen plays an angel. I don't know. Redeeming Love. This one's so bad it went under my radar.
Yeah, it's probably for the better. Yeah, I haven't heard of this at all. And well, now the audience knows. Maybe it'll get some hate/love,
Maybe, who knows? It's Watch Mojo said it's one of those faith-based films. So sometimes those can work. They kind of tug at your heartstring, and they bring in, but they also call it a holy bore. So
Yeah. Just stick away. Read the Bible. It's more interesting.
There you go. Number 3, The King's Daughter. Oh, I did see this. Pierce Brosnan's playing the king. He's got his daughter. I don't know.
What is this? Mermaids? What's going on here?
This is
I feel like there was like a good idea somewhere in here, and there maybe was like some deep themes, and it just kind of got completely surface leveled, and just they kind of like, okay, we don't have time to make it deeper. He's trying to capture a mermaid, and he wants to be immortal.
I'm also just noticing now too. This was supposed to come out in 2015. It was delayed for 7 years.
I wonder why. They tried to keep rewriting the script to make it a decent movie, but it just sucked.
That's a baffling mismatch of so many things in there. Wow, I didn't know it was originally supposed to come out 7 years ago. It probably would have made a worse list in 2015 too.
For sure.
Yeah. Number 2. Ooh, this is a controversial take. I want your opinion on Morbius, Ricky. I want you to chime in on Morbius. You love it? You hate it? Is it as bad as people say it is? Is it Morbin time?
It's Morbin time, and it's not as bad as people say it is. Look, I watched it. I'm not going to go out and say that it was like the great superhero movie, but like, it wasn't that bad, man. It was a very, very normal, very average action movie. It was average. It wasn't bad. And the effects were great. Some of the fight scenes were cool. That one dance scene with what's his name?
Matt Smith.
He was great. He was having fun. I love Matt Smith.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him in the Game of Thrones prequel.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't deserve to be number 2, in my opinion. I wholly disagree. I'm not going to say that it's in a contender for any awards, but no, not for me. Morbius, fine, totally fine.
Yeah,
Watch
you're right.
Morbius.
It's fine. And what's his name? Jared Leto. He's not. I feel like he was okay with that role. I feel like he took some chances and was interesting. I mean,
he's a good actor. He's a good actor. Look, he's got an Oscar. I mean, what do you want to say? The guy's a good actor. Maybe he took the script. It was good money, but you know, he was fine. He was as fine as you could be for playing a vampire doctor. You know,
yeah,
it's great.
I feel like maybe that end credit scene left a bad taste in some people's mouths, right?
Probably a little bit. It's like they're treading on Disney's territory.
And they were trying to make something out of really nothing. It was just kind of bizarre. All right, here's some honorable or dishonorable mentions, as we should say, in the worst movies list. Don't watch these, says watch Mojo. What do we got? We got Measure of Revenge. Have not seen that.
Never even heard of it.
No, Senior Year is also landing on the dishonorable mention list. Deep Water, yeah. Deep Water was supposed to be this kind of erotic thriller with Ben Affleck and
Ana de Armas, yeah.
Ana de Armas, and I think it's on Amazon Prime Plus.
Amazon Prime, yeah.
And yeah, it's you want to talk about one of the worst endings?
Yeah, I haven't watched it, so
the ending is the worst I've seen in a long time. Just what the heck? And the movie itself wasn't terrible. It's just that ending. And this I'm going to disagree with. Their other dishonorable mention, Jurassic World Dominion. Not so bad. I mean,
no. I mean, it's an action. It's got dinosaurs. How bad could it be? Come on.
It's not the best in the franchise. Definitely not the worst in the franchise. So yeah, I wouldn't say that Jurassic World Dominion needs to be on a worst list, even in the dishonorable mentions. I think people could still enjoy that. It's your classic popcorn summer extravaganza.
Exactly.
So there you go. All right, number one. What is the worst movie? Oh man, we're headed back to Netflix. We're the 365 days. This day. Speaking of erotic thrillers, this is so weird. It's like what is it? Like a 50 Shades type thing.
It's like worse. I mean, worse in the sense that it's got some pretty. It's like Stockholm syndrome. I think she gets captured. There's some weird fantasy stuff. Like it doesn't seem consensual. Like there's a lot of criticism around the way that the sex and the erotic scenes were kind of framed in terms of the story and who the love interest is. So I've heard bad things. I heard that a lot of people watch it for how erotic it is, but I heard the actual story itself is pretty like scandalous. I'm not gonna watch it.
No, don't. And what's upsetting to me, well, first of all, it has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. But what's upsetting to me is this was the sequel, so the first one was bad. But you're right, people did tune in to see all the steamy stuff. And I guess they tried to go steamier with this one, but the story didn't improve one iota. But now there's a third one in production.
Oh,
Ricky.
God.
Please.
What are they doing? It's like, what's that other franchise, the Divergent franchise? Like, who gives a shit? Like, but you know, unfortunately, if the numbers are there and people are watching, that's what they're doing, right?
It's the Liam Neeson of erotic thrillers. People just keep watching it. They keep making them. That's
a great line. That's a great line. The Liam Neeson of erotic thrillers.
Ricky, thank you so much for helping me go through all those terrible movies.
Always a pleasure.
It is now time for our Mojo Chats of the Week. Guys, we got a good one for you. It's the cast and the showrunner of Netflix's Resident Evil.
Hello.
Hey, Ella. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm a huge fan. How are you?
I'm very excited to chat with you because I'm a big fan of Resident Evil. Listen, this franchise has a very long history of butt-kicking women, and you are the latest in that amazing group. Talk to me about Resident Evil, and I mean, were you playing the games? Did you watch those movies? Were you reading any of the comics?
Yes, indeed. I definitely played the games, much to my parents' dismay when I was supposed to be in bed. I also watched the movies, and I was so inspired by, the performances in that sequence of films. So being able to come onto the series and, like you say, kick some butt as this main character, Jade Wesker, was equally challenging as it was exciting.
No, and it's cool to watch. Now, your character Jade is interesting because on the show, what we get like future Jade, which is you.
Yes.
And then we go, or present, I should say, maybe present time Jade. And then we get a Jade of the past. Did you talk to the other actress to figure out
Tamara Smart,
how does that work?
Younger Jade. It was a very interesting experience, sort of sharing a character in two separate timelines. And an example of great casting with actresses who both have a very succinct and synchronized perspective and view of how the character sees the world, how she approaches scenarios. She's fiery, she's hot-headed, she's unapologetically herself, but she will always stand by her family. And sort of seeing everything that happens to her in 2022 very much gives context as to what decisions she makes in 2036, which can often be quite questionable, but a very confrontational to her past traumas that she then has to deal with.
No, it's fascinating to watch play out. And I think that's one of the big reasons what sets this show apart from some of the other iterations that we've had in the movies, right? What do you think is the biggest difference between this show and the other stuff we got?
I'd probably say the fact that it feels very human. It doesn't feel like a different world, like something else, something that's been invented. It very much feels like something that could happen tomorrow. 2022, the art department did such an incredible job of creating this very idyllic, slightly too good to be true set. And then in 2036, you see sort of humankind implode on itself, umbrella corporations taken over, and you've almost gone, back a few steps, but it still feels like it could happen tomorrow. And you also see Albert Wesker, who's this iconic, figure in the lore of Resident Evil, turned into an actual human being, not just this dude who's wearing glasses and a black coat, So that's really exciting for fans who are familiar with the franchise and also new fans too.
Absolutely. Okay, last question. I'm glad you mentioned the look of the show, the visual designs. I also really dig the special effects. We get a lot of the creepy characters, right? Those creatures. Do you have a favorite, or one that terrified you the most?
The most fun to film was probably the liquors. The liquor sequence. We are really proud of that. We did it we actually did it in one take. It's the whole thing. It was like a ballet between the camera, myself, the other performers, the stunt performers, the riggers, Danny in his green suit, all of the everyone's sort of contribution together made that a really fun sequence. And it felt very true to Resident Evil. I felt like I was in the game.
There you go. Keep an eye out for the liquors, but you're going to love everything else about it. Ella, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been fun.
Thank you so much. Chat soon.
Resident Evil, one of my absolute favorite franchises. Well, they've got a game, they've got movies, they've got comics, they've got it all. And now they've got a show on Netflix. Adeline and Paola, thank you so much for chatting with me about this. Adeline, I'll start with you. Yeah. I mentioned all the things that are Resident Evil out there. I'm talking 12 games. How familiar were you with this franchise? And do you have a favorite movie or game?
For me, I hadn't played the games, of course, knew about them, but the franchise itself, the movies, of course, worldwide. I grew up in Hong Kong. There is no shortage of knowing Resident Evil globally. I would almost say like the first movie is kind of like the OG movie from the franchise. So that might be my favorite.
Yeah, I can't beat you some Mila Jovovich. She's amazing.
Exactly.
Mila's so great. Paola, I'm going to switch to you because I want you to tell me about your character, because I got a few sneak peeks, and I don't know. Can we trust your character in this show?
Of course, why not? Depending on what you want, if you want chaos and destruction, you should trust her. Of course. I think my character is great. Like, Evelyn is great. I think she is, she's interesting. She's complex. She's complicated. She just wants some respect and recognition. And she is coming from that insecurity. So that is gonna make her, I don't know, maybe not the best choices for her and for her future and the world's future, but it is what it is.
She knows what She knows what she wants, and she's going to do what she can to get it. Adeline, talk to me about how this show is different than all those other things that we talked about. What's something that people should tune into this show in particular to see Resident Evil like we've never seen it before?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think for us, what's important to kind of state from the get-go, it is different. However, it is still set in this wonderful world of Resident Evil and Raccoon City. And there are a lot of characters and a lot of creatures that a lot of fans will recognize throughout this. There's a lot of Easter eggs. And the way that it's different is, I think, maybe think about it in terms of, you have, for example, Albert Wesker, who is like a beloved known character from the games, who then, let's say, exploring his family line, we created different storylines as to how an apocalyptic world would look like in today's day and age. I think we've got very fascinating characters that are in depth. They are complicated. We talk a lot about, family dynamics, and you also, of course, have the element of horror and gore and creatures and the infected.
Yeah, come for the horror and the gore, but stay for the characters, because no spoilers, but you get a little attached. You get a little attached to these people. Okay, last question here. I mean, knock on wood that this never happens, but in today's day and age, you never know. What's the best way to survive a Resident Evil world? You guys have been in the show. Well, if we were to prepare ourselves, this breaks out, how should we survive this? Or can we?
I don't know. I think we have to be prepared, right? And maybe I always think that the way that I would survive, at least for a while, is, if I'm prepared, is just to stay put in one place and not be like changing locations, because that's when you change locations, that's when you're traveling, that's when they get you.
Hunker down.
Hunker down. Stay there.
Yeah.
Stay put.
Stay put. It doesn't matter if you're not in the action, you're gonna survive.
Adeline, are you hunkering down?
No, we spoke about this. I feel like the Billy answer would be to say, be ruthless in your pursuit of what you think you should do in this situation and don't care about too many people. I think my answer is kind of, having done the series now, I kind of like Jade's route. I think me as Adeline would definitely do the research kind of aspect of it, because the best way to beat it is to understand it, right? And hopefully find a cure.
The best way to survive.
But that's how we save those who hunker down too.
I just noticed that I think like Evelyn, I'm only thinking about myself and my survival. I don't.
I'll tell you what, we're gonna have to watch the Netflix show to see how everyone else does it. It's great stuff. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having us.
Bye,
Thank
Matt.
you. Bye.
That was fun. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Hey, Lance, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to chat with you because, listen, whether it's John Wick or White House Down, you always have the coolest characters, and you've done it once again with Resident Evil. Tell us about the character that you're playing, because this is someone that Resident Evil fans will be very familiar with.
So I play Albert Wesker. In this iteration, he is not only a brilliant scientist and a top executive at the Umbrella Corporation, but he's also a single father. So you see, and and for those people who are hardcore fans of the game and think, well, what's that got to do with Resident Evil? You have to see the show to understand how it connects. But the thing that's really great, he comes from I got to be careful how I put this so I don't spoil it. Metaphorically speaking, he comes from the DNA of the Wesker from the games, but he's high on the, in my opinion, he's high on the psychopath scale, but he still has enough of a conscience to have some humanity, some compassion, and a lot of that I feel is grounded in his relationship with his daughters. And so he's constantly juggling in this first season, juggling his responsibility to the corporation and his boss, with whom he has an incredibly abusive and dysfunctional relationship with, and in that relationship, she's the abuser, and his responsibility and his loyalty to the safety and the well-being of his daughters.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's fascinating stuff to see these characters that we know and love and add these layers to them. I love the family aspect. You know, I got a sneak peek and I was really into the characters and these developments, but then you're throwing in all the horror and all the craziness. The show is full of like crazy creatures. Obviously wouldn't be Resident Evil without those. Do you have a favorite or one that kind of spooked you?
Well, a couple of, unfortunately, I can't remember all the names of the creatures, but there was a creature that's kind of like the creature that comes out of the alien's mouth. So I love those. And there was a giant spider, which just man, that was scary. That was great.
I know exactly the ones you're talking about. All right, before we go, I've been asking people knock on something that this never happens, but how would we survive? Can we survive a Resident Evil world if something breaks out? What's our best hope, Lance? What do we do?
Get a job at Umbrella Corporation, because those guys are hooked up. Everybody else, good luck.
There you go. I'll get my resume ready, but everyone else should get ready to watch Resident Evil over there on Netflix. Hey, Lance, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hi.
Listen, I'm a Resident Evil fan, and I gotta know, when you sign on to do a series, which is really cool, do they send you like all the games to play, all the movies and comics to read? What is there, like a boot camp to get prepared? Tamara, what was your prep like for this series?
So I came into the show, it was very fresh. I knew that Resident Evil was a franchise, but I'd never played any of the games. And so I watched a lot of people play the games, and that was kind of their recommendation to me, was like, watch the movies or watch people play the games, or even just play the game yourself. And that's how I kind of got a grasp of, how important it is to people, and, just how the game works.
Siena, what about you? What was your introduction to Resident Evil and the vastness? Because there's like something like 12 games out there and all the movies. Mila Jovovich, I love her. What was your introduction here?
So I also came into it very fresh, and like Tamara, I also watched a lot of people play the game. So I got a sense of their reaction to the world and then the world itself. And so for me, coming into it, I knew how I felt watching them play the games, and I also wanted to make other people feel that through the screen. It was very humbling, though.
Connor, you played the games, right?
I have.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I played Resident Evil 7 when I was 15, and that like blew me away. So I went back and played most of them. And so, yeah, I came into the show with a lot of the background knowledge to it all, which, is very beneficial to have. But even so, our show is just a continuation. It's completely brand new. And so you could come in without any of the knowledge from the series, and it was still, you'd still know what was going on. Yeah, absolutely.
One of the cool things about the show, and that I enjoyed about your characters, is you're taking part in the kind of the present day time, because we're kind of following two stories. Well, Tamara, you explain this a little more, because it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah, so this show takes place in two timelines: our present timeline, 2022, with our characters, and then the future timeline, which is 2036, and follows both of our characters. And our two worlds are very different. 2036 is an apocalyptic place; just the whole world has gone to a mess, and Jade is kind of figuring out what is going on. She is just running from the infected all the time. And she is haunted by her past from Umbrella and her father and her sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and no, it really is. It's fascinating stuff. And I love the way they did it. It's so different than what we've gotten out there. Okay, I'll finish with this, because I've been asking some other people. I'm interested in your take. Hopefully this never happens to us, but how do we survive a Resident Evil apocalypse situation? How do we avoid all these monsters and zombies if it happens?
I'm gonna let you answer that, gamer.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Put yourself in a bunker or something. I don't know. Lock yourself away.
You just got to run faster than the next person, you know?
Oh,
All that.
What? That's a fact.
I would be hiding somewhere for a long time.
Yes.
Listen, we can find out how these characters and more survive on the Resident Evil. It's fantastic stuff over there on Netflix. Thank you guys so much for your time. This has been fun. Listen, I'm excited to chat with you because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Resident Evil. I'm excited that we're getting this show on Netflix. I got a few sneak peeks and it looks fantastic. Let's talk about why you, as the showrunner, as the executive producer, why did you want to jump on this? Why did you want to tackle it? Because, well, you take it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Resident Evil was a formative experience in two ways. On one hand, playing the games when I was younger, like that was really what horror was to me. Before I kind of got into horror movies, it's interesting. Before I got into horror movies, and especially like R-rated horror movies, like I was allowed to play those games, which seems like a bad idea, like in hindsight, but poor parenting in the 90s. So it was formative in that way. And then, I really feel the movies are highly underrated because you see it a lot now, but back then they really took horror and action and sci-fi and really kind of weird sci-fi and blended it all together into something really cool. So it was formative again for me seeing those starting when I was a teenager to just really see that you could do that. It really kind of opened my mind or blew my mind in two different ways. So when this came about, the opportunity to kind of tackle this world and this lore and all the fun of it, like I just jumped in with both feet and thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think there's something like 12 games, 6 movies. People must like something about it. But speaking of which, Andrew, how do you decide what to take and what to put in this show? Because there's so much to choose from.
I think you have to be a little judicious. You know what I mean? There's a lot out there. And there are 30 years of history and we have 8 hours in season 1. So, we have some things sprinkled throughout, but hopefully if we're lucky enough to continue, we will be able to fold in more game elements as the show goes on.
But there are some things that people will right away get, especially in that first episode. There's no spoilers, but there's something that terrified me as a kid and I saw it once again. So thanks for giving me nightmares all over again, Andrew. What makes this different? Because it is different. So for those that weren't fans of the movies, what can they expect from this show that's different from what we've seen before?
I hope what they can expect is, kind of experience that is very grounded in human. You know what I mean? The idea is, okay, Umbrella exists. It's this crazy company. All this stuff happened, 20, 30 years ago. And if you were a kid growing up in Umbrella housing, basically, Umbrella Town, and you started to realize what had happened, and more importantly, like what your dad had done. You know what I mean? In some ways, it's in a very weird way. Like I think we all have that moment where you realize like what your dad does for a job, and you're like, oh, that's who that guy is. Like he's a different guy when he's out there. That's what these characters are going through. Dad just happens to be someone that may be starting a zombie apocalypse. So he may be different than my dad, but maybe the same as yours. I don't know.
And before I let you go, Andrew, I was just looking. You used to be on with the Supernatural guys, right?
Yes,
the Supernatural
yes.
show. Would you ever? I know. I mean, TV. You never say never, but a crossover event with Supernatural and Resident Evil. How cool would that be?
I will say this, it would be awesome. I will say this, Sam and Dean Winchester would do very well in the Resident Evil universe. They would do very, I'm not saying they would stop it necessarily, but they'd be right at home.
100% agree. But do check out Resident Evil over there on Netflix. Andrew, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition, everybody. Big thanks going out to Ricky Tucci. As always, brings the fun. Thanks so much, Ricky. And hey, how great was everyone over there at Resident Evil? Make sure you check out that show on Netflix. I truly did enjoy it. I've been Matt from Watch Mojo, popping that culture.